and having 12 days of technical do-overs. And for what I don't do over, I pass that on. So sometimes you have a day where you say, well, I didn't like today. Nothing's stopping you from doing it twice. The people around you might not be having the same day, but nothing says that you can't start tomorrow. And that after the day's over, the next day you wake up and you say, you know what? Everything I did yesterday, as much as to my capacity and capability, I'm going to do again today. And you could do it again. And it doesn't mean the day before didn't happen, but it does mean that if you ever want to grant yourself another chance at that day, at least internally, you could. And I do that sometimes. If I have a day I didn't like, I'll go the next day and say, you know what? Minus the commitments that I have that are going to, say that today and yesterday are 2 different days, I'm just going to do today what I did yesterday. And it's okay to do that. There's nothing wrong with doing stuff twice. That's my opinion. Or more than twice. Some people live their whole lives doing the same thing every day. The people that raised me, they do the same thing every day. Their whole lives. Not the exact same thing, but for the most part, pretty much every single day of their entire lives, it was the same. We grow in age, we grow in experience. But, a lot of life does stay the same for people. And that's okay. You're welcome to live that way. I like change in moderation. I've learned more about myself that I don't want as much change as often as I thought I did. But I do enjoy change. I might not be the biggest fan of coin change in my pocket, because coin change in my pocket definitely weighs me down. But, other kind of change I do enjoy. Sorry, I'm a very active person, and and my body is adapting to that. I know my headphones have a very sensitive microphone. I'm going to show you guys the sun. Take a look at this. I don't know how big it's going to be on the screen, but you can see the sun from here. I just don't know if I can get it on camera. There, look, check that out. How cool is that? How freaking cool is that? So with the fog here in the morning, you can actually see the sun and look straight at it without burning your eyeballs. You do want to be careful. You don't want to stare at it too long, because it's still going to hurt your eyes. O, F, not D. Foggy, not doggy. Foggy is a word. Okay. Oh, well, hello.
Sex play me, faggot.
Good morning.
I throw this coffee up.
All right.
Good morning, dude.
Enjoy prison. Moving on. If you're lucky. Yeah, that can't happen to me. He's scared. I would presume that someone from my network offered him assistance, and I'm guessing he turned it down. That's okay. He's a tough guy, though. He'll be all right. I'm not gonna lie to you. I promise you, he's gonna be okay. He's not gonna get hurt or anything. He's just gonna have somebody somewhere, hopefully from his network, could run into him, reach out to him, calm him down. That's just a homeless guy that runs around here all the time. He'll be all right. He's just normally not that, aggressive. I ran into somebody this morning when I had to use the porta potty who he actually had saved my life a couple of times. I'd say 4 or 5 different times. This homeless guy saved my life, and he's out on the streets all the time, and he barely gets any recognition or credit for it. He stays out of trouble for the most part. We all have our own habits and things we got going on, but I think it's about time for someone to offer him a little more help or get him in a better position, because it's to the point where people are kind of singling him out. And I was going to go to the porta potty, and I saw him, and he started freaking out. He wasn't freaking out at me. He was freaking out before I saw him. I could hear him halfway down the boulevard with my music blasting in my ears. And against my better judgment, I went up to him because he was like in the middle of an altercation. He was about to get in a fight with somebody. I went up to him, and before even having to ask him what happened, he told me that someone smacked him in the head with a metal pipe. And so I took him to the side, and I said, look, how many times have you saved my life? And he didn't say anything. He kind of just paused. He was like, oh yeah, I did that. I'm like, okay. Now, do I, in my head, the look on my face is to him, am I about to have to get you out of prison? Or can we calm down to keep you from having to be, pulled out of prison? And he chilled out, took a minute, and he went to the restroom. He had to go to the bathroom. And then he came back out, was able to calm down. This is good. But, it's a shame when you see someone that's a good person who's been doing a lot for people turn around and, be put on the spot like that. It's not cool. And people say, well, there's a reason, somebody did this, somebody did that. Well, I think sometimes it's important to remember and to make account for the good deeds people have done. And sometimes we want to base our decisions on principle. Sometimes I think it's important to base our decision on experience. And when somebody like that, at least for me personally, he had stuck up for me so many times. I can't tell you how many times he's kept me when I was on the street from getting beat up or even getting killed on the street. And that it's not fair for them to, because I think, well, if he's done that for me, and I'm the last guy anybody would do it for out on the street because I just don't subscribe to street life, well, who else has he done it for, right? So a man of principle, regardless of his background, experience, or his behavior on the street, if he's living that way, staying true to himself, and from the viewpoint that I have as a Christian, or at least as a Christ believer, I think to myself, he deserves that respect. Doesn't matter what he looks like, how he acts. When it comes down to it, he has principle, and he trusts his truth. And so, having saved my life a couple of times, and I most definitely would say the likelihood that he saved the lives of others is pretty high, that he should be granted that pardon and peace and have an opportunity to move on from the situation and not be treated with such disrespect. So I guess what I'm saying is, I'll start with something that's going to take a little courage. If you're watching this and you're from the Hollywood area, if you know who may have done that to him, do me a favor and peacefully resolve the issue, and please help him into a position where he's not going to get treated that way or have that happen to him again. And that's on my word, if you feel that you got to come to me about it, I am out here. But if you don't have to, thank you. Just please look out for him, because he has treated me with a lot of respect and has kept me alive on several occasions that I wasn't personally prepared for or aware of. And that does happen. I take care of myself as much as possible. From time to time, things happen that you're not ready for. With that said, my next thing there is, after calming down, I kind of looked at the guys that were there who were riling him up after having been assaulted. After he got assaulted, and then they were, riling him up. And I looked at him, I'm like, do we have any I told him, I said, he saved me a couple of times. Do you guys have any issues with him? Or like, is everything cool? Are you guys good? And, they kind of just looked at me like, yeah, everything's good. I'm like, all right. Now, could you do me a favor and look out for him? And they kind of looked at me like, are you serious? And I was like, how many times I look out for you? I didn't say that to them, but that's the way I kind of tried to guilt them into a little bit. I looked at them, I'm like, and so, they offered to spot him a little bit, and now hopefully he's doing good. But it's like people have places they like to go, places they frequent, and everyone has their habits and their routines. And with the up-and-coming election and with the up-and-coming Olympics here in Los Angeles, they are changing. Things are changing, and the environment's changing, and the places people are able to go, at least for a time, are changing. And there's not, and it's disappointing, but at the same time, that change is a necessity, right? And it's no different than if you, on a psychological basis, it's no different than if you had an apartment or you had a car, and all of a sudden the government just said, well, this isn't here for you. Or if you had assistance or were making money, and say you lost your job or you lost your assistance, it's going to make an impact on your daily life. So for the homeless community, the changes that have been happening to be ready for the Olympics has been a hard hit personally for most of the. So there's not really anything I can do. He kind of turned to me. It's like, and I mean, he literally said this to me, and I had to maintain my composure. It was difficult for me not to keep a straight face because I felt so bad. But my life has moved into a different position, and I told him that. I said, and I told him, how many times have people come at me? And he was like, a lot. I'm like, yeah. And what did I do? And he looked at me like, you smited them. I'm like, what did I do? Forgave him, moved on, let it go. And so I was explaining to him verbally to help him understand that letting it go gets you a lot further, because people prefer someone of peace over someone of war, at least in a civilian environment. And he has had a lot of experiences that put him in a war-torn mindset. So I explained that to him, and he understood. He's like, yeah, that makes sense. In his own way, that what I'm saying to him, so saying to him made sense. And then, I proceeded to be like, all right, well then, are you able to let this go? And then after confirming for me that he was able to let it go and that they were able to let it go, as I went to walk away, he's like, oh, where are you going? Da, 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 da. So I got to go on with my day. He's like, well, what are you actually going to do? I told him I got to go to work. And then he's like asking me about work and stuff. And I gave him a little bit of information. And I'm like, and I got to head out. And he's like, all right, but like, you're still here, right? He's like, you're not leaving. You're not going anywhere. Like, you're still here. I'm like, yes. Yes, I'm here. And so he was kind of trying to make it look like he was faking it, like he was trying to fake it, he was trying to act like he's faking it, like he didn't care if I left or if I stayed. And I could see that he was being genuine. So I took him seriously. I looked him dead in the face and said, yeah, I'm staying. I'm home. I'm here. And he calmed down, and I didn't realize, I did not know that he even cared whether or not I was around, but I suppose he does, and I was happy to see him. But, when I had first walked up on the situation, I heard his voice, and I, at first, was wondering, who is that? Because I recognized their voice, but I hadn't placed just yet who it was, and then I saw him. And I'm like, oh my gosh. what's going on. So then, as I said, I went up to him and we took care of that situation. And I'm sorry to have given you that story in bits and pieces and, jumping back and forth in the timeline of the story. I remembered it as best as I could, the parts that I could. I guess I kind of prioritized it based on, urgency. But, like I said, to wrap it up, I'll say twice, is if you could look out for him, I'd appreciate you for that. And then there's a few people out there who, you guys, those of you of the streets of Hollywood know who I'm referencing, people that and I thank you for your discretion in reference to people that I've done my best to look out for and keep out of trouble. I have moved on from that since, and I'm thankful that I don't have anyone making any efforts to pull me into any of that. Thank you for the mercy. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being merciful towards me in reference to the work I had to put in to get off the street and not be out here and actually be living in Hollywood, not just being new to Hollywood. Now, thankfully, I'm not having to deal with doing that again. I found proper projects to keep myself occupied, to also maintain proper housing in the ways that are appropriate. And I suppose my recommendation to you is that if you are out here and you genuinely want to get off the street, find a way. If this place says they don't want you, if that guy says he doesn't want to help you, find someone who will. And I don't know whether or not you pray, but I do. And I know that God is listening. And whether that sounds sane or my belief sounds ostentatious, I trust in His will and I move forward in my faith. And God does continue to protect me and make sure that I'm safe during the times that I know that I am not yet skilled to the degree appropriate to handle a situation. And I'll tell you, before I prayed, I made it pretty far and I did pretty good. And admittedly, I was a god of a man without any pride in the matter. Take pride out of the matter. I bow to the feet of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. That's my truth. He is my truth. Before Him in my life, as close as I have Christ in my heart, in my mind, in my life, I was outlandishly capable. I could do things that no man could do, that most men couldn't do. And I delegated for people that most people will never meet. And I'm thankful to continue maintaining relationships with the people that I've met that were closest to me, that they remain closest to me. I'm thankful for the new relationships that I've built with people that are now close to me. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to continue moving forward and moving, up the hierarchical ladder, that I could continue to grow my life at a healthy and appropriate rate. So I'll leave you with that. Use your skills, and when your skills aren't enough, if you're willing to, pray. Pray. Good morning. How are you? Well, I'm going to take a seat right where it looks like I left a scooter right on the corner. No offense, I don't use these scooters. They're super dangerous, and you hear in the news every single day about somebody who ends up getting hit by a scooter or gets hit on a scooter or falls off a scooter and gets hurt. These city scooters are such a problem. And it's a problem because they're not appropriate to the environment. We do not have the appropriate infrastructure to have these scooters here. Whatever deals were made or what have you, that part's none of my business. But what is my business is the protection and the defending of human life. And that's on an interpersonal basis. And I have learned to keep the protection of human life out of my professional my professional goals, my professional pursuits. Yeah, that would be the word, my professional pursuits. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to put myself out there and care from time to time. I make sure not to cross those professional boundaries. And I'm pretty good at not crossing those professional boundaries now that I've really learned, how far I can go and how far I can't go. And I'm thankful for people leaving me out of the conversation having to do with things that don't have to do with me, or that I'm not as skilled as would be necessary to make those decisions. So you guys have me for a while. I got a good amount of battery. I'm not really doing anything else with my day. It's going to be a while till the sun comes out. So kind of just hanging out. Birthday number 3. But I am going to take my headphones off because I'm really not I don't really need the extra cushioning today. So the headphones are coming off for the day, or at least for now. Not off the body, just off my head. Because it's a nice quiet morning and I don't need the extra cushioning. It is a Monday, so a lot of people are going to be busy. I forgot to use a Q-tip this morning. I keep forgetting to use them. Sorry about that. It's pretty gross. But I am clean. I am well showered. I do shower every day now, which is really nice to be able to get a shower every day. I'm not against using soap, but I'm very careful with what kind of soap that I use. I am willing to go the distance to, so with the amount of influence that I have, if I use the soap that is provided to the homeless, me using that soap creates the potential of really helping to provide more of it. And I'm happy to help, but I have my limitations. I have to respect my own lifestyle. I'm not going to move into my own lifestyle unless I live my own lifestyle. So I don't use I don't use non-organics. I just don't. I will tell you that even if some of these, once again, this is not something that I'm involved in. So I'll share my opinion, but beyond my opinion, there's not much that I'm a part of in those conversations. But once again, here in a little 5 minutes, I live in Hollywood. I don't know what you would call somebody living in Hollywood, or a Californian. I'm a Californian. I won't use anything that's not organic, but I'll tell you something. Nowadays, welcome from the Philippines. Yeah, so Hollywood is in California, and California is in the United States. You nowadays can buy organics. Thanks for the bean. You can buy organics that cost the same price, if not less, than traditional soap. So, if you want me to use the soap that supports the homeless, then give me soap that is organic, that supports the homeless. I can tell you, some of these places, they give out Dr. Bronner's soap. Dr. Bronner's soap is organic. It's really healthy for you. And Dr. Bronner's also doubles as laundry detergent. You can use Dr. Bronner's soap as laundry detergent. I was using Dr. Bronner's back in 2016, 2017, before Dr. Bronner's was even popular. I did research and found Dr. Bronner's. So I started using the soap. And it's really good for you. It's healthy for the body. And it cleans you. But if it's not organic, I won't use it. So Like if you, or I try, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes I do, but for the most part, I don't. And especially in the city, the water is so hard pH wise that if you wash your hair for 5 minutes and you just stand there and you scrub your hair for 5 straight minutes, your hair will get as clean as if you use soap, regular soap. And that is the truth. Now, it might not come out looking the same. It might come out looking, you might have a little dandruff, and then, your hair might be a little, it might look greasy, but what it is that your hair has natural oils in it that your hair is supposed to have. And so if you don't wash out those natural oils using the chemicals in the soaps that are non-organic, then your hair is going to look sometimes greasy or like you have gel in it, right? But with that said, teeth are very similar, your teeth. So like the natural color of teeth is yellow. Your teeth are not naturally white, they're naturally yellow. And a sign of a healthy mouth and healthy teeth is actually when your teeth are very, very yellow. Believe it or not, the natural color of your teeth is the color yellow, and your teeth are supposed to be almost gold. They're supposed to be super dark yellow. That's healthy. When our teeth start to die and our teeth start to corrode, that's when our teeth turn white. So like if you think about bone in the human body, right? When a bone sticks out of your body, the color isn't a total white. It's like a pale. And bone doesn't necessarily turn white until it starts to die, because bone is organic material. Until the bone starts to die organically, that it's when it becomes less alive and is more of an inorganic material. So the fact of the matter is your teeth are bones and they're supposed to be yellow. It's really popular to have white teeth. It used to be popular to have yellow teeth back in the day. And that's why sometimes you hear about people having wood teeth, right? That's a real thing. They would have wooden dentures because the color of those wooden dentures made it look like your teeth were healthy. Interesting, unpopular facts. So I will tell you that, right, that the healthy color of teeth is yellow, while at the same time, I use teeth whitener because I'm smart and I want to be a part of society, right? So like I promote healthy living. That doesn't mean that I don't want friends. So, I whiten my teeth and I wash my hair. And my hair, I have really, really healthy hair. So like I have a lot of natural oils in my hair. And so even whenever I wash it really good, it still comes out looking this way. But I would rather this than, having an unhealthy scalp and unhealthy hair. And I'll find a solution. I will. I just haven't found one yet. Yeah, you can Google it. Your teeth are supposed to be yellow. It's socially popular nowadays for your teeth to be white. That's why I whiten my teeth. But I don't use toothpaste. When I have either a piece of wood. Now, I do live indoors. I'm not homeless, so I don't mean to sound like I'm living out here. I'm living inside. But I'm from the woods. And out there, we would take a piece of wood and you gnaw on the end of it and then use it to brush your teeth if you were out in the woods for a couple of days hunting. Instead of, because you're not taking a toothbrush with you, you're not taking a backpack. You're moving in such a fashion that it's kind of like a hunter-gatherer where you're hunting down the animal. You're not just sitting and waiting for it. So you'd have to track the animal and you'd have to hunt it down. But like using a wood toothbrush is really healthy for you if you have thin enough bristles. Charcoal isn't too bad. Charcoal does pull at your teeth, but it's actually decently healthy for your teeth to use charcoal. But plastic toothbrushes are so bad for your teeth, it's not even funny. Your teeth are supposed to breathe. And so when I say your teeth are supposed to breathe, what I mean is, there are holes in your teeth. There are microscopic holes in your teeth that absorb the air and what's in the air and release, what's in your body. And I'm trying to explain this properly. Like when your teeth, to keep your teeth from rotting, your teeth have microscopic holes in them. And when you're like swishing saliva in and out of your teeth, it goes in and out of your teeth, and then you're able to like spit out what's between your teeth and what might be sticking to it. And then what's really supposed to happen, now this is going on true organics, all right? We're going real natural here. This doesn't mean it's like how everybody's doing it. I'm just telling you the nature of it, is that you're supposed to be eating, like our bodies are built for a raw diet. Our bodies aren't built. Nowadays, we've adapted and evolved that sometimes our bodies require us to cook meat and stuff like that. So like, if you don't come from a background like mine, where my family has been living naturally for like 5 generations, my body, I got like an iron stomach. I can pretty much eat anything and not worry about it. I can eat, I could eat raw meat. And if I accidentally consume a tapeworm, my body will kill that tapeworm. I got a really healthy body, like to an archaic degree. But if you don't have a body capable of that, then obviously you want to cook your meat. You want to make healthy choices that are healthy for your body based on your body's capability. But our bodies are made to be consuming the raw meat. We're at one point, I should say, made to be consuming the raw meat. We're made to be consuming the acids and things of that nature. And so when you would be swooshing those raw acids in between your teeth as you're chewing, those acids that were in the food you were eating would kill off anything that would normally destroy your teeth, and then it would corrode away at what's between your teeth, and then you just spit it out or swallow it. Whereas nowadays, there's a process to it. So yeah. I'm scrolling up. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm just scrolling up in the comments. And don't get upset or scared if I see a comment and I look a certain way. I'm a careful guy. And if your comment catches me off guard, it doesn't mean you need to be nervous. You don't need to be nervous. It just takes me a minute to process what I'm seeing. And like, you got to remember, I'm really stubborn. So I have my own mindset, and I'm stubborn in my mindset. And sometimes I'll be thinking about one thing, and then I'll take a look at the comment, and it takes me in a total different direction. And I have to like adjust to going in a different direction mentally. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'll tell you what, some people, like, for example, I give you an example of somebody a lot of people like to pay attention to. Johnny Depp. He recently got a full set of dentures. I don't know if he got dentures or implants, but Johnny Depp just got a brand new set of teeth. Like, good for him. There's nothing wrong with that. I can tell you guys, I will be doing it. That I will be getting a new set of teeth at some point. I'm probably going to start off with just continuing to whiten my teeth, and then going to the dentist and getting my teeth evened out. And then later on in life, as my teeth start to rot more, which I do have some cracks in my teeth, you can't really see them. Oh, excuse me. You can't really see the cracks in my teeth, but they're there. And once my teeth get worse, maybe into my 50s and 60s, I'll probably end up getting a replacement set of teeth. So, you just go with the flow. It's like you want to be as true to yourself as humanly possible, but you don't want to be extreme. Like, that's my opinion. I don't really see extremism as a healthy thing in any way, shape, or form. There's a time and place for everything, and civilian society is not necessarily the place to be extreme. That's my viewpoint. That's where I stand in society. That's how I live. brush my teeth twice a day. Here's my take on brushing my teeth, especially while I'm having to still use a plastic toothbrush. I will brush my teeth anywhere from once a day to twice a week, depending on what I'm eating and how much I'm eating. If I'm eating foods that clean my teeth, then I might not brush that day. Or if I'm drinking something acidic, I won't brush my teeth that day. But I usually brush my teeth. I brush my tongue every day because the plastic bristles going on the tongue, as long as you do it light and just take your time, then it won't kill your taste buds. But I'm very careful with brushing my teeth, especially with a plastic toothbrush. So I have a clean mouth. I just, like I said, it's not healthy to go so hard at your teeth. Like, a lot of people will lose their teeth going into their 40s and 50s and 60s. And they're so concerned with what people think that they're like, yeah, I brush my teeth every day. Well, that's good for you. But, like, that's also the reason why you don't have teeth anymore. And they're like, that doesn't make any sense. My dentist told me, I'm like, you mean the guy that gets paid to tell you to buy his products, right? Dentist is a salesman. I was raised in a sales environment. It's very easy for me to spot a salesman. A dentist is a salesman. He's going to tell you what to do with your body. And I have done the due diligence to take care of myself and make sure that I'm making proper and healthy choices for my body. And so I'll go to the dentist, but I'm not going to ask the dentist to do anything. Like, I'll have the dentist clean my teeth. I'm fine with that. But when he tells me to use the fluoride toothpaste and gives me a new toothbrush, I'm going to put his toothbrush on the side in case I need it later. And the fluoride toothpaste is either going to another person, or I might use the toothpaste as like some form of an adhesive glue, because toothpaste is really good when you mix it with certain chemicals. You can use it as glue. And so I guess what I'm telling you is, anything that they're telling you to put in your body or put in your mouth that can be utilized as glue. I mean, when we were kids, kids would be like eating glue in class, and as far as I know, you're really not supposed to eat glue. So that's where I stand with that. Do I eat raw meat frequently? I am gonna tell you my truth. I love eating raw meat. That is my thing. That's what I like to do. I am telling you, don't do it, because it's probably not healthy for you. Unless if you are an American native, if you are a native of any country, and your biology is, and your lineage, like if your family history says that you're coming from the sticks, you're coming from the middle of nowhere, you come from some sort of ancient or native culture, your body may be capable of doing it. Don't find out the hard way. Please don't find out the hard way. Do your research, find out more about your body. Go to the doctor, let them give you different tests to tell you more about yourself. Take a DNA test, find out more about yourself. I did all that. And so I know that my body is healthy and capable of consuming raw meat. But I do not recommend, unless you do proper research, consuming raw meat. Do not. That's how I see it. To flip to a psychology thing really quick, and we're going to go right back to regular, is I will tell you, do not ever be embarrassed, afraid, or ashamed of being some type of a hypocrite, because the reality is you're always going to have to ebb and flow with society, and if you get stuck on principle, you could end up in a rough place. If you don't have enough principle, you can end up in a rough place. Create a balance for yourself. Like, I'm telling you all this organic, I'm talking about all this organic stuff, and then I'm sitting here smoking a vape, right? Nothing but chemicals, nothing but synthetic inorganic chemicals. So don't be afraid to just be honest with yourself and live the way you have to live. And if you can afford to live a lifestyle of principle to that level of discipline, then more power to you. And if you're like me, where I'm still building up my life and you're not fully capable of following your principles to that degree, then be forgiving of yourself and give yourself time to get in place. Just don't forget in the ways that you're trying to make your life better and more like what you are comfortable with. don't, make sure that you do take time for yourself to figure out how to do that. Where did I learn all this? I'd say it's been about a decade or more it's been more than a decade of constant research. Now I've learned to go from having to look online to paying attention to what goes on in real life. And so I keep getting better with it. The more you learn about learning, the better you get at learning. And the more you learn about learning, the better you get at learning about learning. And the more you learn, the faster you're going to continue to be able to use your skills of learning about learning and learning to get better at learning. And so oftentimes getting better at learning means you become faster at learning. And then it's a snowball effect. It's a psychological snowball effect. I almost said snowball. A psychological snowball effect. So the more you learn about yourself, the more you're going to learn about yourself. Good morning. I had a good night. I had a pretty good night. I got a good amount of sleep. I got up around 3:30 like I always do, and very productive day so far. Like I have done more by 8 a.m. on the West Coast than most people will do in their entire day. And technically the day hasn't even started yet. So if you now this is a principle, this is something I learned from Elon Musk, because I used to study his work and when he would have motivational speeches and things of that nature. So the average person works 20 to 40 hours a week, okay? If you work 80 hours a week, you're getting twice as much done. If you work 120 hours a week, you're getting 3 times as much done. Now, 120 hours a week is a lot. That's the pace that I live at, is I am productive at least 120 hours a week. Externally productive, right? And then the rest of that time is internal for sleep, for getting sleep. So let's say you're productive 120 hours a week. Well, there's 365 days a year. 365 times 2 is 11:15 or 25. Is it 11:15 or 11:25? 11:25. I believe it's 11:25 if I'm not mistaken. So let's say that you work 3 times the amount of an average person throughout the entire year, and then on top of that, you have learned how to work faster and more efficiently. Let's just double it than most people. So on average, you're getting done, if you're that good, and admittedly, if you're as good as I am, you're getting done at least 8 times as much as the average person in a year. Or even if you just count day to day, by technicality and just by proxy, you are accomplishing 8 times as much in one day as the average person. Now, with that comes the caveat of being overqualified. So if you're in a position like me where you're seeking an appropriate position, but you're so skilled, not necessarily good at that skill yet, but you're so skilled as a person that when you step into that environment, it's multiplying the environment, but also it usually, when you're that proficient, it usually causes some form of disruption, whatever environment you step into, because as a conglomerate, most environments, have the tasks delegated to a team and a whole lot of people, right? So if you're a self-starter and you're someone like me who does pretty much everything yourself with proper supports, then you step into an environment where the tasks are delegated and you have to adapt and adjust to being on a team. And that's something I've had to do and I've gotten pretty good at. I'm pretty good at working on a team now. I just had to learn how to do it. But I would say that's a 1% skill that you definitely need to learn that most people know how to do. But if you're somebody like me that's a self-starter, you definitely, I know you might be proud of your situation in your life, but we live in a society that is very much communally based and very intertwined, where people are intertwined with one another. So it's very important to learn how to work together with people. And sometimes that means throttling your own productivity. If you want that job, sometimes that means that you're going to just dial it back and allow yourself to work that job. And for anyone that, like I said, if you're a self-starter, sometimes the struggle we have is resting. And sometimes the struggle we have is taking time to ourselves or taking the time to rest and recuperate, or at least recharge, right? Well, something I learned how to do, I'd say a very, very important skill if you're a self-starter, is learning how to move on autopilot, right? So for example, if you are someone who is, let's say, 4 times as productive as the average person, and you go to a 40-hour-a-week job, well, dial it back and work just as hard as everybody else. Don't put in all that extra effort unless you're trying to get a promotion, then maybe go 2 times as hard. And then allow yourself to mentally rest during your work shift, right? And if that's too much for you, that it's making you lazy, then get a part-time job. If you need more money, you're going to have to figure that out on your own. If you're really that productive, you're going to figure it out. But if you're the type of person that you do pretty much everything yourself, get yourself a part-time job and use that time to mentally rest and just do the job they tell you to do. There's no reason you have to do 2 and 3 jobs at once. You don't have to. So take that time to rest and recuperate and realize that you're getting paid for your time either way. So you go to work, you put the work in, and you're going to make money. And like based on your personal standard, you're going to think like you're going to feel like you're cheating because you're making money while you're not even technically in your own mind doing all that much at all. So that's what I would say to do, is just, realize how clever it actually is just to get a regular job. If you're someone that's hyper productive, get a regular job and let yourself get some rest while you're at work. Do the job while you're at work. You're going to look like you're working harder than everybody that's around you, and you're still going to make that money, and you're going to get to relax. And it'll be unbeknownst to your boss. Your boss is going to be like, man, look at your performance. It's out of this world. And you'll be like, thank you. And then you go home and you're like, you still have like a whole bunch of energy left. So that's how I do it. To tell you the truth, that is how I do it. And the bosses usually don't want you to work overly hard. And if you do go to work and you put in too much effort, well, guess what's going to happen? Your boss is going to take advantage of you. They're going to talk crap to the higher management so you can't get a promotion or take their job. And they're going to keep you under them and use you for their performance. And when you first go to a job, maybe that's appropriate for like a year or 2 while you're still getting tenure. But realistically, you don't want someone tarnishing your name like that. So your best bet is to go in at anywhere from full capacity of the average employee to time and a half, Just make sure you get paid. Because if you're not getting paid, it's not a job. Unless it's like an internship or something. That internships are obviously different. If there was a zombie apocalypse, how long would I survive? I would more than likely be running a country, a small country. If there was a zombie apocalypse and people needed to stay alive, the likelihood that I'd be running a small country is very high. I would probably migrate to a third world country where people already know how to survive in an environment similar to what would be offered in a zombie apocalypse, what you'd have to deal with. And I would assert a leadership role. That's what I would do. Hello, how are you? What would you do? If we had a zombie apocalypse, what would you do? Oh, you know what? Shamelessly, I'm going to ask the audience, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor, because I've done my research and I can't figure out what it is. And it's not really that much of a secret. People have just been kind enough not to really talk about it. But even after getting cleaned up, I'm showered every day. I live indoors. I got appropriate income, all that good stuff. But I don't seem to be able to figure out how to solve this physiological thing I got going on. And I don't think my stress levels are this high, but it's possible that my stress levels really are this high and I just don't realize it. So, like when I did the research, the research said that it could be caused by just an extraneous amount of stress. I have this. All right, I'm going off camera for this, okay? I have this odor going on on my backside, right? It smells like fish. And I don't know what is going on. I don't have any idea what it is. And I have a doctor's appointment at the end of the month. I'm going to go figure out what's going on. Or at least try to get an appointment with a specialist. But if you guys could if you're willing to look into this, if you're someone who's been dedicated to my broadcast and you're a little more personal with me and it doesn't gross you out, if you'd be willing to look up what could possibly cause having a fishy smell from your backside, I would appreciate you telling me what you could find, because it's definitely coming from inside the body. It's not on the outside. And I've obviously done the proper cleaning to ensure that. So I'm a guy and I have, male parts. So if you could do me a favor and look that up and let me know what you find. And obviously I am so desperate on it that I'm asking the audience, which is ridiculous. But I mean, literally, I can't find anybody to tell me what's going on. And I can't figure it out myself, which doesn't happen a lot, but we're there. So let me know if you find anything. And do me a favor, send it to me privately. Don't put it publicly. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm just sitting here waiting to see what's done with this scooter, because people know that I come to sit here and start my broadcast, and then somebody just kind of left a scooter here, and it's a big problem. Big problem. But what I will tell you is my leg's starting to fall asleep, so I'm getting up. And I'm not playing this game. So, sorry. If you're supposed to be somewhere or something, I would get to where you're supposed to be. This Q trying to steal from me. I'm not going to mention the particulars of that. But, yeah, I didn't offer for you to just take my stuff. So thanks for not taking it. I guess that's my way of telling you that I've taken it back. And we now have a problem. Because, you go ahead, my leg's asleep. Yeah, my leg's asleep here standing because someone's being I thought, let me be a little nice and I'll sit here and wait. And then, instead of appreciating the extra time I tried to buy somebody to walk down the way, they're like, I'm not gonna lie to you, people disgust me sometimes. They really do. They're literally they make me so mad. They really do. And no remorse either. It's like nowadays people are just straight sociopaths, and I don't even know how to deal with them. How do you tell the difference? That's the thing about sociopaths, is you don't know when they're sociopaths, because they're that good at hiding. And it makes me so mad, because I'll do something for somebody, or I'll try to help somebody out, and I find out they don't have feelings, their brain doesn't work right, they got a mental problem, and then I'm standing out here and I look like I'm sticking my leg out for somebody, and it's my leg's asleep. Oh man. And then they're like, we'll take more. I'm like, don't worry, you take as much as you want. Just remember, the bill's going to show up in the mail. Exactly how it works. Deceptive that they'll tell you they're giving you something for free, and then it's then you find out it's not free later. Well, me personally, I'm going to tell you to your face, that I'm more than happy to help you. Just remember, certain types of help I charge for, because certain types of help I was given and certain types of help I'm offering myself from my own stock that I've worked for, such as cover. If there's someone who's trying to get somewhere, and I do this a lot for celebrities, when they're like other celebrities, when there's people, when you don't, how do I put this? If you're trying to get from point A to point B and you can't afford a security team, or you can't afford, or you're not willing to wear a bulletproof vest, and you're a celebrity and you're trying to go out in public, or you're trying to go from A to B when you want to, I'm the guy that you call or text or send a signal through one of your social networks, physically or online, to cover for you and pretend to be you for 5 minutes. And I do that for people. And this is my first time telling you guys online. I don't have any issues with it. It's not a crime. I don't get, what do you call it? I don't get paid for that. That's something where I consider it to be something I do for free, for, not charity, but just as a good deed, because there's people out there that I could relate to who don't always have the ability to maintain their privacy, and I know what that feels like. So, sometimes I use my personal skills that were granted to me by my country, that I was taught, that that I don't see those skills as marketable skills. I see them as something that are supposed to be used for free, because I was taught those skills by my country for free. It didn't cost me money; it cost my country money, and so it's only fair that I do that for free for people. So where was I going with that? But sometimes, from time to time, I'll have someone who thinks they're like extra special, and I'll use those skills for them, and I'll help cover for them so that they can get from A to B without being noticed, because they want to maintain their privacy. And then they'll end up trying to take more from me, or like use my name without my permission, or what have you, or use the likeness of my name without my permission, or, while they are stepping in my shoes and being a little safer, they're like, oh, wow, he has this and this and that. And they think they're just going to walk through my proverbial house of resources and just walk out with a whole bunch of my stuff in their bag. And I'm like, we're not doing that. Put it back, put it back, put it back. And next time you want to show up with an ID, because if we're going to work together again, it's going to be on the books, and I'm going to start charging, because I'm not, you know what I mean? Like I said, with the initial, I'm doing it for free. But if someone starts taking advantage of my actual personal resources, then it becomes a job. I haven't had anybody come back to me, thankfully, who has taken advantage of me. But, from time to time, I have to put my foot down. I get disappointed, because I'm not even kidding, I was literally doing it right there. I was sitting there by that scooter and whatnot, and I was doing a good deed for somebody that I know, I know what celebrity it was. I thought, I'm doing a nice thing. And then he freaking turn around and they're like, oh, I'm going to take more. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not. I don't like being taken advantage of. I mean, I'm practically already letting people take advantage of me to begin with by using those skills for free. There's plenty of people that have the skills that I do that are getting paid 150 to 250 grand a year, or per job even, sometimes, quarter over quarter, for, certain forms of personal protection. The skill set that I have is worth, now this is a market that is majoritatively clandestine. The skills that I have that are marketable are worth at least $250,000 to $500,000 per job. And I do it for free because my country taught me for free. So when people turn around and they take it for their own personal use, I get upset. Now, if I give somebody something for free, that's different. And I give people stuff all the time from my own personal stock that I've earned of resources. But on a professional basis, I don't, I'm not a charity, is what I'm saying. I am not, as a human being, a charity. So if I'm going to use my skills for someone who wants to utilize what I have for their professional life, I have to evaluate how much that person does for the public. If the person that I'm allowing to utilize my personal skills for, personal skills for, if they have more of a professionally vested interest, then I make it a professional conversation. if there's someone that I feel, because and it's a personal it's a personal topic, because those are my resources, and then on top of it, that skill set is something that not a lot of people have. So it's like, if I'm going to let somebody use me in that way for what their business is or what they're doing, I want to make sure that they're a giving person. If they're giving as much as I'm comfortable with them giving for me to let them use me, then I'll stick up for them and I'll do what I got to do with them. But if it's someone who has professional interest and they are more selfish with what they got, and maybe they're not the type of person that I jive with, well, then I'll create like a financial barrier. And most of the time, if there's a financial conversation, they say, oh my gosh, that's too much, I don't want to do it. So then they'll hang out at their home for an extra year and a half instead of going out to have fun. And so, I guess the fun isn't worth the money for them, but I'm also not going to undercharge. Then in the times when, people need that help and it doesn't cost me any money and it's not really making them money, and then they're going to do something good for people, I'll do it for them. And I am so good at it that I could say it in public and still get it done and be successful with it. To this day, there hasn't been a single, not even a security camera has caught me, not a single one, doing what I do when I have to get it done for people that need it done. So, and I could do it. I can't do it while I'm on live stream, obviously. So I've been doing a lot less of it, thankfully. So I'm taking care of me. But now it's out there. If you need that, let me know. But and then also don't cheat me. Like I was sitting there, and it's an unspoken agreement. I'm like, I don't mind. But when I'm sitting there and then I'm getting those signals that someone's they're starting to take from me, well, guess what's happening? I'm cutting out halfway through the job. You don't get to say, oh, you made the commitment and now you got to stick to it, or I'm going to tarnish your name. Everybody already knows that you're someone who steals. And so I covered you for 2 seconds thinking that you're going to do the right thing. And against my better judgment, you chose to try stealing from me. You didn't get away from it. You didn't get away with it either. And now I can move on and I don't have to cover for you. And if you want me to cover for you again, you try to commit a crime while I'm covering for you, you're going to prison. I'm just letting you know, like, I don't play with that, and people don't play with that with me, because my name is worth something, and I'm not playing with that. And then on top of that, if you're gonna swap it and then try to use me for your professional reasons, when we agreed upon you going to utilize my cover for the sake of charity or for the sake of giving or for the sake of our country, if you swap that or try to take extra, then you're the one that has to answer to the government, not me. So, I have that agreement, I have those connections, and I don't play with it. I take you seriously, I respect your time and your energy, and my demand on a personal and professional level is that I receive the same respect that I give you. And if you feel that I'm disrespecting you because we have different cultures and I refuse to shift into your culture to give you what you want, it's called extremism. No, you're cool. And I really don't support extremism, and I don't subscribe to or fit into that culture, But if you're someone who, no matter what you do with your life, like if you are someone who is involved in, say, street culture, or you're someone who's involved in nefarious practices, that's not for me to judge. That's not my place. What you do in America is my business if you want to deal with me. What you do in other countries, until those countries recognize me on the same level that my country recognizes me, is none of my business. But as long as you are respecting my country and my home, our home, country and my home, our home, the practices that I'm on a personal or professional basis. And I have very staunch and forthright standards about who I work with in those ways. And anything that I am supposed to or that I have to report to my government, I do. Anything that I'm supposed to report to the IRS, I do. And it keeps me out of trouble. Here, 1 second, I catch up with these comments. We got something going on today. I don't know what it is, but I'm excited. Very productive. You know what I like about you? Your humor is about as dry as mine. Like I vibe with you. I can feel that. Now if very productive. Awesome, because I can relate to that. Why do I wake up at 3 a.m.? I wake up at 3 a.m. and I start being productive around 3:30 for reasons of having to do with nature. Without saying too much, I would recommend that you research. Research. I mean, you can literally just Google three. Google 3:30 a.m. and Dwayne Johnson's motivational videos and speeches that he had. And one of the things that he had said in one of his videos is that he wakes up, and I don't know if he does this now, but back then when I was watching those videos, he said he gets up at 3:30 a.m. And I think it's like when the market's open internationally or something like that. But then I look at least where I'm 3:30 a.m. is the pinnacle time to wake up for the day. As long as you have, I would say, at least 6 to 8 months of stationary time in one spot, and if not physically, at least virtually. If you're building your own world, if you're living your own life and you're trying to plant roots so deep that people can't pull them up, there's a lot of practice that people can't pull them up. There's a lot of practice earned. I've just been doing my best to get better at them ever since, and continuing to learn more on top of that. Yeah, so I guess my recommendation to you, what I will tell you, is that when it comes to let's call it getting ahead of the clock. If you ever want to get ahead of the clock and not let time be beating you, instead of, if you want to beat time instead of having time beating you, there's two ways you can do it. You could be on all the time, or you could learn how to hide. And if you know how to be private, if you know how to be invisible, and your responsibility you make, because no word to lie, whether it's propagandization, whether it's typical media, whether it's just hearsay or what people talk about, no matter what source you go to, the truth is the devil in the metaphorical dark. No matter what kind of dark you're in, whether it's literal darkness in the sky or you're just hiding in society, you want to be very careful what choices you make, because there are a lot of temptations and a lot of choices that are presented to you, and you have to be vigilant to ensure that you recognize the difference between an unmitigated risk, which when you're in the dark, when you go dark,
every decision you make is unmitigated, uncontrolled, and unorganized. And whether you realize it or not, if you are in the dark and there are what appear to be organized decisions being made, that's organized chaos. That is situations, people, organizations, massive amount and structure and process and rule setting to ensure continued progress and implementation of their personal advancement in the realms that are the dark. And you have to be very careful what decisions you make. And you make sure that if you do not have a preset by society, your parents, by your family, some form of moral compass or an ethical compass or a personality based in principle, that you are at least at minimum a deeply organized individual with proper habits and rituals to keep yourself from falling off into an abyss of social disarray and ending up in a state of internal chaos. Because at that point, it is very possible, it does happen, where you're not understanding, say, the difference between right and wrong, or the difference between up and down, or if what I'm saying is making any sense to you, you got to be very careful. Then the other way, and when you do that, if you know how to maneuver, these controlled, let me not say organized, but controlled parts of society that are in the dark, some people decide they want to be a part of that life. I'm not. I live in the light. Dedicated or devoted to or loyal to the light? No, I'm loyal to myself. But I grew up in where I come from, you can't go down the street and live like it's the 1950s, right? And like people lived 50 years ago, you can have a simulated environment that reminds you of the past and gives you a chance to enjoy a culture that otherwise doesn't exist. So you're obviously not actually going into the past, but you are able to enjoy and grow into cultures that once existed, such as up here they have this escape hotel. They dress and behave in a fashion that is from the past, and it's pretty cool. And then, like you see Disney, right? There's a lot of elements in the past that are incorporated into Disney. And some people like that, Some people they have their culture from either generations past or, more recent, that they grew up and they want to live the way they grew up. Usually, something. So you're going to be very careful with that. And if you choose to subscribe to that, then you subscribe to that. It's just then you're kind of like, that's your life and that's what you're living and there's no other way to be. So then you've made your choice at that point. And then, like I said, on the opposite end then, because there's a lot that you can derive from the dark, being in the dark and going dark, when you're not subscribing to any particular culture and you're kind of weaving in and out of what's around you. You have to have a lot of personal discipline in and out of what's around you. You have to have a lot of personal discipline Well, on the opposite end is the documented history, the documented environment, the, as people say, living in the light, where it's like everything's exposed all the time and everybody knows what everybody's doing. And everybody knows what everybody's doing. And to gain, to accrue and gain access to resources and things of that nature. Like I told you, operating in the dark is kind of like a job to job. And then when everything is documented, it's kind of just like you gain momentum and you build for yourself by building that history and it's kind of like the atypical having a resume, having, a work history, having a college degree, whatever it might be. Yeah, so it's too, think of it this way. If you choose the path, or like I dip back and forth. I seriously go all over the map. But if you're trying to just keep it black and white for yourself, some people like to keep it black and white. It's just the way a lot of people think. And they let society do most of the thinking for them otherwise. And there's nothing wrong with that. In my opinion, everyone's got their own lifestyle. And I mean, that's just society, If you want to live in society, you kind of just got to accept that everyone's got their own lifestyle and be as cool with people as you could be. So if you're living, a life where you're kind of just, at the atypical life that most people live and you're just documenting your history and all that, it's kind of like pulling something behind you, and because you're carrying stuff with you and you want to pull, you're pulling as much weight as you can handle. And so it's like, you have to remember that in order to accomplish your goal, you have to get to your destination. Well, don't carry more weight than you can handle for the distance you have to cover based on your capabilities. Make sure that you're carrying just enough weight to make it where you need to get to and not more than you can handle. But also don't cheat yourself and be like, well, I'm going to show up early, because in that fashion, in an organized history type fashion, you want to show up where you're supposed to show up on time, not late, not early, because all you're doing is just giving somebody else extra of what's already yours. So pull as much as you could and get there, of what would be appropriate to show up with wherever you're going to in your life. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical location, but just like maybe a lifestyle. So for example, what I am pulling with me as I build a documented history is I'm pulling myself to a lifestyle where I can live organically while also having money and being stable and safe in an environment that I want to live in. Right? And so that's what I'm doing in the documented history sense. And then in the dark, I'll go job to job. Right? But I make sure that when I'm working in the dark, I stick to my ethics and I stick to my morals so that whenever the risk of slipping shows up, I'm able to keep my balance. And when you're shifting from one way of life to another, sometimes people are going to end up following you. And, because they want what you got. And they say, well, we want some of what you have. Well, that brings us full circle to, like when I go into the dark and I go and I live a lifestyle where I'm getting stuff other people don't know how to get, I show back up in the light in a documented history sense, and people say, well, I want what you have. Give it to me because I want it. I'm sorry, but you don't understand that you don't have the skill set and haven't earned what you have to earn in order to get a piece of it. You don't just get it because you want to. You have to do it to earn it and say, well, just give it to me. I literally can't give you what you're asking for because it would corrupt you, because you don't understand how to operate in that environment without putting yourself at risk. It would be irresponsible for me to gift somebody something I earned in the dark while they're living in the light, because it would darken them and may not be capable of handling it. And so when I'm giving a gift or receiving a gift, I have to evaluate, am I capable of being myself and staying independent when I receive something or give something? And if someone wants something from me, I have to be responsible enough to tell them yes or tell them no based on what their level of discipline is in reference to temptation. If I give them something, is it going to send them off to behave in a way that isn't healthy for them? Or is it going to increase their life and make them either more capable or produce a situation where they can become more productive? And then vice versa. When someone is offering, and this is just the basic premise of temptation, I was introduced to it through the Christian environment, but truthfully, people don't know this. Like, a lot of people don't realize how privileged we are as a society internationally. Like, you go to a third world country, they don't know what the word temptation even means, whether it's religiously related or not, right? Like, we've created like subculture on subculture based off of cultures we've recently created. And then you go to a third world country and the only thing they're thinking about is where their next meal's coming from and whether or not they need to climb up a tree, to get honey out of a beehive. They don't care. They don't even know. Now, when they come here, they're going to learn to care because that's part of our culture. You have to adapt into the culture to survive. And no different than I would never survive in a third world country, because even though I have 5 generations of archaic lineage, right, of ancient lineage, what difference does that make? I go to a third world country and I try to get honey out of a tree, out of a beehive, and I'll die. Because I'll get stung by 100 bees and my body isn't capable. But then some 6-year-old that was raised in the ancient culture can climb into that tree and they'll get stung by 100 bees and they'll be like, literally, it's a thing. Look it up. It exists. There's cultures out there that their bodies are immune to this stuff and ours aren't. So, it's like in the documented culture, people just expect stuff, not understanding they haven't earned it. They're like, well, it's my time and it's more important than yours. And then the darkness teaches them a lesson. People that earn stuff in the dark teach them a lesson, or vice versa. Sometimes and often, they end up teaching one another a lesson. And that's just the dichotomy. Sometimes people go in another direction. Sometimes the waters get muddied and, things get a little dirty here and there. But the reality is, it's the dichotomy of life. Everyone's got their own culture. And I just want you to think about and realize, before you ever question the establishment at large, and I'm talking about the international establishment, I'm not just talking about America. Before you go and you question the powers that be, I want you to realize and think about how many different people exist on this planet, how differently we all live and have our own personalities and our own lifestyles and our own cultures and then subcultures on that. And think about how much power, intelligence, wisdom, and experience it must take from God knows how many generations to be able to operate a society containing so many people that are so different. And then on top of it, be able to produce a culture where we all recognize and agree upon ideals and actually get along, when less than 1,000 years ago, we were, not getting along. So one hand feeds the other, but you don't necessarily always see what each other is doing. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, an endless dichotomy. There's always going to be that back and forth. It's not going to stop. It's been going that way for all of recorded history. It's been understood in principle for all of unrecorded history. And more than likely, those notions will never change. They're going to pull you if you don't hop on the sidewalk. He's done. He's cooked. All right. Moving on. Oh, excuse me. I'm good. I told you. See, I keep my balance. But then, people who live in the light will look for evidence of people that operate in the dark, and then they'll put you through. If you're someone that steps into the dark, people do. They'll test you. They'll test you pretty hard to make sure that you're an honest person and that you're trustworthy. Because for people that don't venture off into the dark, most of what they're sold on and told is that bad stuff happens in the dark and that's it. But that's not true. Not everybody. There's very few of us, but there are some of us that know how to venture off into the dark and be responsible. I'm one of those people. So I step off into the dark. I do what I got to do. Step back into the light. Proverbially, whatever, what I'm saying, metaphorically speaking. And then I know. And then I'll be, I have I'm thankful to have good people in my life who will put me to the test sometimes, just in the easiest of senses, to make sure that I'm still okay, right? Because truthfully, when you step off from one arena to another, there's a risk because of the transition. Not necessarily because of what you're doing, but because of what you're transitioning in and out of. It's the transition itself. It's the change that can produce. It's the transition itself. It's the change that can produce. It's the transition itself. It's the change that can produce internal destruction. You got to be very careful. What I'm saying does make sense. It's not psychobabble or anything. It's just really advanced psychoanalytics and really advanced psychology, and very forward-thinking psychology. And I didn't necessarily trust in the level of psychological understanding that I have, even within myself, until I put more of my own personal methods into practice and honed them in and got good at what I do. And then I said, okay, my methods are effective, and thus I can trust myself. And so I, take things further. And now I've learned, after becoming a more integrated member of society, how to take it slow and make sure that I go at a pace and at a rate that's healthy for me, healthy for the people that are around me. And although I might get an odd look here and there, for the most part, I'm accepted and free to move about in today's society. And if somebody wants to throw a party at my house, they're welcome to. And I feel safe to have them in my place, usually. But when you learn how to gain as much as I've learned to gain, greed and corruption are bound to follow. And sometimes that will create the false notion that one may be greedy or corrupt. And that is never true. Good morning. That's pretty cool. Talk about full circle. Oh man, good stuff. All right. Challenge accepted. Yeah, so I like to take challenges where they show up and where I'm capable. I'm very thankful to have been raised the way I've been raised, and I'm very blessed to have learned how to operate at the proficiency I've learned to operate, and I'm very lucky to have come from the family that I came from. And so with all those put into the mix, and then me bowing at the feet of Christ, I have a good life. But I can tell you, for how much I have in front of me and what I have in my life, if it were not for Jesus Christ, I would be screwed. You have no idea. Some people don't believe in the existence of Jesus whatsoever because they're blind mentally and they don't understand how life works. But that's okay. For me, it's a lot easier just because of my lineage. As some of you know, we're not going to get into that. But, you can't account my trust in Christ as faith as much as maybe someone who doesn't have that close experience in their family history. So my family history comes from lineage that has had brushes with people that came from not just the early church, but like people that came before Christ and people that were involved with people who came from the line of Christ. So like when you have those experiences that are like so firsthand, obviously it's much easier to trust in the potentiality of the existence of, Yeshua, right? And faith, like for me, faith is trusting in the belief that Jesus was God. That's my belief, right? But it's much easier for me on a human basis to believe in Jesus because my family, in our lineage, in our way back history, we've had brushes with the families that were involved with Yeshua. No different than Muhammad did exist, right? You got the Muslims. Muhammad did exist as a human being. He was real. He existed on the earth. Ron L. Hubbard existed. He was real. Israel existed on the earth. Yeshua existed. He was real on the earth. And the fact of the matter is you can't really calculate faith. You can't really logically deduce someone's experience of belief or experience of faith. And how much someone believes in something based on their brain patterns, but that doesn't constitute, the truth in reference to what we believe exists beyond science, such as, the existence of the principle and the principality of faith, right? Like the existence of faith beyond man's intervention and the existence of belief beyond man's intervention or man's existence. We can't calculate whether or not it does exist because we are human. So I might believe in Christ and I might believe that Jesus is God, but that doesn't mean I technically believe that Jesus is God more than the next guy because I have those family experiences, so it's actually less likely that I know, right? The statistical probability is actually that I would, at least on a psychological basis, by technicality, have less faith than someone that, by technicality, have less faith than someone that, based on psychology, would be. This is the word of God. Well, thank you. Thanks. I mean, I'm speaking. I can tell you that my experience of the Bible has been fed to me through my Catholic faith. I mean, that's what I was raised in, is the Catholic Church. But I live in a very free and accepted world, and I like the man that I am. I like who I've been raised to be. I believe in a church that is post-Vatican II. I live in the physical and the proverbial. I live in the physical and mental. I live in the physical present. All right. I live in the present world. I live in the physical present moment. And any time that I leave out certain details, it's for the sake of people who are still learning how to catch up. I've been blessed. I've been favored. I've been lucky. And I've had the opportunity to exist in the present moment and have a family lineage that has been very close to those who have had the tenacity to exist in the present moment. So that's what I do. Thank you. Good to see you. Thanks, Will. No, we do not need more people like me. We need less people like me. I'm a pretty smart guy, and that's what I think. And I'd like you to agree with me, but you don't have to. I really do think that this world has enough smart people. We need more people that are doing more instead of just thinking more. We got plenty of good, intelligent thinkers. We got a lot of people that sit behind desks and know what they're doing. We need more people that are out here doing stuff. That's my opinion. I'm a smart person that should probably be behind a desk, and me being out here doing the work should tell you that somebody's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, or there aren't enough people out here doing what they're supposed to be doing, because I'm not supposed to be out here. And I'm out here filling a gap for someone that's supposed to be sitting on that bench that isn't me. This bench that isn't me. I don't have anything else to do with my time right now, so I don't mind. But someone else is supposed to be sitting on this bench, not me. and I'm not supposed to be having to walk around the block over and over again. But, you know, society needs some time to catch up from COVID, and I have the time to spare, and I'm losing weight and gaining muscle and getting smarter and getting on my feet in the ways that I want to get on my feet. And to me, I'm not on my feet till I'm a millionaire. So for now, I'm doing this. Thanks. I appreciate the compliment. Well, that's it. I mean, it's based on your belief, you know? You got to know what's toxic and what isn't toxic. It's based on who you believe in. And when tempted, when I'm tempted with using God's will and God's word for my own favor and growth, I have to rebuke that, both on my own personal faith and because it's not healthy for the soul or the mind. And that's both on a psychological basis and on a faith-based belief. No matter what your belief is, we're going to find a common ground. I will tell you for a fact, there is no way to defeat the powers that be. I have made my agreements and I understand how this world works. And as I've said, both Yahweh and Muhammad have existed. They are both real. And in some way, shape, or form, we are connected. And I will count on that connection before I ever have a disagreement with you. And pretty soon, I'm going to buy me some shawarma. And then when I eat it, after I enjoy the experience, I will Google what shawarma is. Until then, I'm in the dark, and that's okay. I don't mind, and I am definitely enjoying the beautiful experience that I have an opportunity to be a part of. Stacy, I did not find that answer. I didn't. That's why I'm asking you guys. There's a possibility that your personally tailored algorithm within either your AI or just your search results will tell you and give you the answer. And maybe you can give me that answer, but I have to ask for that information and that knowledge because it's not being provided directly to me for whatever reason. And I really need to know. Thank you. Some days I have good vocabulary, and some days I'm just so tired that I can't even think. Like, you'd be surprised. I have days where I just do not sound like I know what I'm talking about. Or even, I don't even sound like I know what I'm doing some days. And then some days I sound like a philosopher. And then some days I sound like a regular guy. And it is 100% related to what I do that day. Because I push myself pretty hard every day. And who I spend my time around and whatnot really shifts my behavior and the way that I'm able to communicate my personality. So thankfully, I don't struggle with any mental illness. I have an ability to logically explain and deduce my experiences and help people to understand why I behave the way I do and why I have such a wide range in my personality, of behaviors. And like I said, I still have some work to do, but I'm doing pretty good and I'm decently healthy, thankfully. Thank you. Got to do what you got to do. Ain't that the truth? Shawarma is so good. I don't know what it is, and I haven't bought it yet, and I have matured out of the brainwash of overspending or just trying to think that I'm like investing in the market by just spending my money. I've learned to invest. I've learned to save. And now I have to learn how to spend when I have money to spend. So I'm like relearning how to spend healthily, and I'm getting there. I don't mind either way. If you'd like to tell me what shawarma is, I'd be more than happy to learn now. If you want to be a part of my experience with me, and if not, then I will. I'll learn when Yeah, see, some people like what I have to say, but then they see me in real life. They see me in shorts. So that's part of why I live here. I live in a place where I can be accepted and free to live how I choose. And you know what? I like sitting this way. I'm comfortable. And I hope that you can find a way to be comfortable as well. I'm comfortable with you, however you choose to live. choose to live, but it does mean that we can enjoy one another from a distance. And that, I'll tell you what, I party as hard as I work. I do. I work. Pretty hard. And I've also learned how to integrate my pondering right into my day. So I party, I ponder, and I work all at the same time. It's called task stacking. Something I learned from a very wise individual that I once used to be virtually mentored at a distance by. Someone whose lessons I've learned from and classes that I took online. Never got the personal experience of ever getting to know the guy. I've gotten over the fanboying, but I'll tell you what, there's still stuff that I learned from that guy that I implement to this day. And I'm very thankful to have had the opportunity to be introduced to him. Through his classes. So drive for quite a while to get to that point. But it's nice now to be able to exist in the present moment and not have people taking from you. And as usual, as opposed to wanting things I can't have, in this life, I am now to the point where there isn't anything I can't grasp. But I'm learning to accept there are some things I just shouldn't have at certain times. And I'm being more careful and responsible with my choices. Mostly. What's up, Gilbert? And see, now I can look out for all three. I like this role. And I'll tell you what, guys, I'm so proud of myself because what I'm doing today, if you don't know what I'm doing, I'm enjoying birthday day number 3. And I don't have to watch out for any of them. I mean, I look out for them to protect them on a personal basis, but I'm not worried about their professional pursuits or their I'm blessed and I'm doing all right. I'd be doing better if people were more careful, but that's okay. That's thankfully not my place to even make a comment about it, truthfully. And I'm getting there. I'm getting better. Where was I? If you have any stars that you want to see on the Walk of Fame, let me know and we'll find those stars. What else? Oh yeah. So today's birthday number 3. Today's birthday day number 3. And I'm really enjoying myself. And it's nice to be able to maintain what I'm able to maintain at this point in my life with minimal support. Like, guys, I have been working towards the man I've become my entire life. I mean, every decision I've made, every move I've made, every suffering I've experienced, every lesson that I've learned has been in the direction of becoming comparable and copacetic And now I'm able to maintain my social role in a space where I'm almost where I'm supposed to be in a time frame that is just unbelievable. I mean, I have progressed in my craft so quickly. I see you. No worries. That I'm proud of myself. You know, I don't really have anybody to turn to talk about it other than, you know, to pray to my God. I mean, God is all I got to say thank you for that and to talk to about the progress that I've made. But like, because I don't have anybody in my life that, like, I'm not a part of any social groups that would be appropriate to talk about some of the stuff that I have that I have going on in my head in the good ways, not like unhealthy or, you know, any form of mental illness, just stuff that is like having to do with, you know, my industry and what I work in. And so the progress that I've made is just unprecedented. And I do have those innate abilities to be able to sense and understand when I am being assisted, right? And I am gaining very minimal assistance for the amount of work that I'm putting in and the level of productivity that I'm maintaining at the rate that I'm moving. And I mean, what most people take a lifetime to accomplish and build up to, I've managed to get myself to this degree in my life of proficiency in less than 3 years. And I am telling you the truth. And that's why when I use the word prodigy, I use the word prodigy because I don't have any other word to explain it. Unless there are people that are unbeknownst to me that are assisting me that I don't have the ability to sense or recognize. And I don't think there are, because I'm pretty good at that. Like, I mean, that's one of the things I'm best at. I mean, when I talk about prodigy, I'm one of the best in the world at sensing things and knowing where people are and things of that nature. And I ask for help when I have to. And now I got people asking me to lower my level, and I'm not in the mood. Thank you. Yeah, I know. Okay, so as I was saying, I'm doing pretty good. Very proud of myself. And so I'm celebrating with y'all on being able to maintain myself in this social role that most people take a lifetime to get to, and sometimes get jealous about when they're not capable. But that has nothing to do with me. And I'm happy about it, and I'm experiencing an appropriate amount of pride over this accomplishment. That is going to be a really rough crash. So yeah, I mean, I'm young, so it's expected for me to be a little cocky about it, and I'm sure I'll pay for that later. But for now, I'm just celebrating with myself and with you. So I'm excited, and I can only imagine what my life is going to be like and what I'm going to be capable of 20 years from now. If the things that I'm not really talking to you guys about that I'm capable of accomplishing in the good ways, I'm able to accomplish those things now, what am I going to be capable of in 20 years? I can only imagine. And I am so thankful to the people who are more intelligent, more experienced than me, who have chosen to make a personal effort in my life to help me grow and prosper to the degree that I've been able to. access in my life. And when I say in my life, I mean in my mind, right? The level of self-awareness and enlightenment that I've grown to.
Jesus is alive. Makita-kita kay Jefferson.
Okay, and to catch up on comments, I shut that broadcast down for a little bit. Did I get some cool gifts for my birthday? Yes. I'm also obviously like it's like as complex of a thinker as I am, I have a really simple personality. I do. And that's the personality, the part of your brain that is your personality, and the part of your personality, or I'm sorry, the part of your personality, oh my gosh, come on now. The part of the mind that is personality is separate from the part that is intelligence. So when I come off so simple to the point where it might be difficult to believe that I'm smart, or vice versa, both are true. So in my mind, I'm a really smart guy, but I also have a really simple and easygoing personality. And your intelligence and your personality are separate parts of the brain, and they work together instead of separately. When you have the ability, you can compartmentalize and focus your mindset to be able to operate in one way or another. But me personally, I don't like to operate my personality. I just like to let life happen, and then I just use my intelligence as is appropriate. Might seem like I'm explaining basic science as things that are like super obvious, but truthfully, to some people, they're not, because they didn't have the opportunity to be raised in a first world country. Absolutely. Thank you. I know, right? I could definitely buy back that island.
Just put a phone right